Hello, welcome to Beyond the Boundary. My name is Josh. It's fantastic to have you on board yet again for round 22. I've got Nick to my right, as always. How are you, Nick?
Absolutely brilliant, Josh. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. And Vinay, how are you, mate?
I'm very good, mate. Looking forward to a very exciting week of football.
How was Saturday afternoon?
I tell you what, 6-day turnaround.
6-day turnaround.
Dependent on the 6-day turnaround.
3-point win. You were 34 points up.
6-day turnaround.
Don't give me that
the juice out of the legs. The juice was dripping out of the legs, but we'll get on. It was a good win.
Moving on to the tips, something that I can't use the turnaround as an excuse for. He only got 5 this week.
Something I want to brag a little bit about here.
Oh, yeah.
I was 3 behind halfway through the year. I'm now 4 ahead.
Rickard Bubblehead.
Yeah, thank you.
We really need to invest in one of those.
We do, yeah.
I'm just
he's done a bit
running away with it.
He's done a bit of a Richmond.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys. I've actually shut up shop for the season. I've packed up my suitcase, gone home, and I'm reworking.
I've noticed in one of your tips you've tipped a team by 3,000. Just so your West Coast Eagles get the 8.
I have tipped a team by 3,000. Wait and see who it is.
We'll get to that. Just a reminder that we released our tips 6 p.m. Friday night on AFL Season Information.
We will do it this
week. News. Josh never remembers. First game of the round. It's a big one. It's a big one at Adelaide Oval. It's Port Adelaide versus Carlton. Friday night. Last time these two teams played, it was Port by 33 points. Guys, Port beat Gold Coast by 9 points. They were shaky, but they got the job done.
Very horrible conditions up there. I wasn't surprised it was a close game, to be honest. But Matthew Lobe, I thought, was the standout player on the ground.
I agree.
3 votes for him.
3 votes, yeah. He had 16 disposals, 12 tackles for a big man, and 56 hit-outs in the wet. So that's just a phenomenal day for the big man.
Cool, yeah. He's always been probably the best tackling ruckman in the AFL, so no surprise there.
Yep.
He actually gives away the most free kicks of any player in the AFL, does Matthew Lobe.
Really?
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, that doesn't surprise me either, because he's one of the great tackling ruckmen in the game.
And he's such a big guy that he probably is.
Yeah, exactly.
He's always in the contest as well. When ball's thrown up, he's there. And
taking midfielders' heads off.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Robbie Gray was great as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's had a terrific year. We're big fans of him here.
I'm a massive fan of him.
Most people on the page don't think that we are big fans of Robbie Gray, but
really,
yeah.
What more do we need to say? We've said he'd be in our All-Australian team.
Maybe because he's the 4th best player a lot of weeks, might just miss out on a vote occasionally.
Yeah.
We'll get Robbie Gray into the show for them. We'll just
get him on.
Yeah. How are you going to do that?
We'll work something out. But Robbie Gray, I thought his first half was actually pretty quiet. Or his first quarter anyway, I should say. He did end up with 15 touches to half time, but his first quarter was very, very quiet. He only had a couple of disposals in that term, and he was really, really kept quiet for the most part, and then he just went nuts because he obviously started in the forward line, then he moved to the midfield, and he's just such a smooth mover. I mean, it was wet, humid, bad conditions, but he made it look so easy, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. A win for Port Adelaide would secure a home final. I've had a look at it. They've got a pretty healthy percentage. North wouldn't catch them even if they did level on points. So, but a win would secure a home final.
Big incentive for them at home this week.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'd keep pressure on the Dockers as well. Even though the Dockers probably should keep 4th spot, it would keep the pressure on them.
Yeah,
so
still a chance for them to actually jump into the top 4. We should mention. So
yeah, absolutely, boys. One player I want to talk about for Port Adelaide, Hamish Hartlett. I think he is one of the best players in the competition when he's up and going.
Yes.
Okay.
If he gets consistent, injury-free football, he can be one of the best players in the competition.
Oh, well, no doubt. I mean, he was one of Port's highest draft picks. He was their first-round draft pick. I think he took him at pick 4.
Yep, pick 4 or 5, yeah.
5, yep. So he was a really, really highly touted draft pick, and he's proven why. He's a very good kick of the footy. He's a very long kick of the footy.
Oh, he's one of those great players you can see from 55 off a step. He can just put it
exactly,
through half goalpost height.
Yeah, he's a good mark of the ball. He's good inside and outside. So he's just one of their best players by far, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if after Boak or they're probably not too far in age, but he'd definitely be in that leadership group. He's a very good leader as well. So
before we go on to the Blues, boys, Monfries and Trengove should come back into the side this week.
Trengove was a late withdrawal, wasn't he?
And Monfries
was okay.
Aaron Young was an emergency. He was halfway to the airport when Port Adelaide called him.
Oh, halfway to the airport.
Halfway to the airport. That's how late Monfries was.
But halfway to the airport to go back to Adelaide.
Yeah, and play in the reserves. There's a picture that Aaron Young tweeted. I'll send it to you so you can put it in the corner here. He was outside the ground when the first ball was bounced.
So
in a cab. He was halfway to the airport.
So it would have been interesting to see what happened if someone went down in the first few minutes.
He's actually missed the start of the game.
He's missed the start of the game.
That's got to be unprecedented.
He didn't get on the ground in his vest
until probably halfway through the first quarter.
Through the first quarter.
Anyway, the Carlton Blues, speaking about halfway through the first quarter that they didn't get on the ground, they lost to Geelong by 6 points. I thought Carazzo did an absolutely brilliant job on Selwood in that second half. It was really threatening to break the game apart.
Probably one of his best games for a while.
Yeah.
He's had an injury-interrupted couple of years.
No.
He gathered 32 disposals. He was absolutely fantastic, but just really wasn't Carlton's night. Nothing really went right for them.
They had injuries, just consecutive injuries from after really quarter time.
Thomas went down with his ankle. He's unlikely to play this year, the rest of the year. David Allard went down. Troy Menzel also went down.
Wait, Thomas?
Dale Thomas.
Dale Thomas.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Lindsay Thomas there. He plays for North, but
And
continue.
Brock McLean was also a very, very late
We also saw
as well.
Yaron was doing a great job on Stephen Motlop. He was getting work on him in the third quarter as well.
So they're itching for the end of the season. I think. They're getting injuries.
You feel bad for Carlton because the last 4 weeks they've given absolutely everything.
Yeah.
You look at the calibre of sides they've played. They've had to come up against Sydney, Freo and Geelong.
Yeah.
I think they challenged Hawthorn recently as well.
Yeah. So they've come up against some really difficult sides and they've been literally giving everything to get nothing, no result out of it.
They're one of those sides that have just really been hurt by their slow start to the year. Mick Malthouse, I think it was almost a month ago that Carlton were in a really bad patch of form, and Mick Malthouse has really turned that side around. As you said, they played some of the best sides in the competition, and if it wasn't for that slow start to the year, they would be one of the teams that within a chance to, or even if some of those results against Geelong and Hawthorn and Sydney had gone the other way, that'd be a huge chance
In
to
the
make
eight, probably.
finals at the moment. Yeah.
But I think the word for them is capitulating. I think they're just nearing the end of the season and they're, as you said, Josh, just crawling over the finish line.
Speaking of Troy Menzel, before he went off with that arm, wrist injury, whatever it was, shoulder, I think it might have been.
He was breaking that game apart.
He was, and I mean, he's going to be one of the best small forwards in the comp.
Oh,
And you know who he reminds me a lot of?
you're going to say...
Daniel Menzel?
No, he's going to say Chad Wingard because he looks like Chad Wingard.
He plays like Chad Wingard.
And he looks like him.
He does look like him a little bit.
And his build, everything about him, his
Absolute
hairstyle.
left footer.
Left footer, yes.
I think he plays a bit like his brother, actually, guys.
Yeah.
I think
He's his brother again.
When did his brother
I'm
last
kidding,
play?
I'm kidding.
Daniel Menzel?
Troy Menzel, you're right, Josh. I think he's a very, very good player. He was meant to go as a top 10 draft pick. If it wasn't for injury, he would have been
He
a
went
top 10.
11.
Yeah, but he would have been guaranteed top 5,
Yeah.
top 6.
Yeah.
But he's a very, very good player, and they're sitting on a winner there.
But anyway, my point comparing him to his brother, he's a very strong overhead mark, even though he's sort of a small, medium forward. His goal sense is, almost second to none when he's on.
Very similar to Wingard, you're right.
Yeah, and he's a real X factor player. Both times we played Carlton this season, Geelong that is, he's absolutely broken that game apart and threatened to win it off his own boot.
Yes.
One quick thing before we give our tips, boys. Bryce Gibbs, I think this has been his best season in his career. He's far more consistent. He's kicking goals. He's winning the ball. He's
Finally
winning
reaching his potential.
No, I think
winning contested ball.
Yeah,
which
you're
was
right.
his biggest flaw.
You're right, not just Bryce Gibbs. I think Mark Murphy as well.
Yep.
Both the two number 1 draft picks have been superb this season. They've gone under the radar as compared to other mids, but they've been absolutely brilliant. You're right, and the soft accusations should be thrown out of the window now because those two are just as tough as anyone else at the moment out there for Carlton.
Yep.
Matthew Cruiser, speaking of number 1 picks, played in the VFL on the weekend as well. So
That's a good chance to come back.
Probably not because
Cameron
Cameron Wood's
Wood's
on the
been
season. I wouldn't see them risking
hardly
it.
impressive.
I can't see him.
With 2 games to go and nothing to play for, I can't see any incentive in playing.
Who are we tipping, guys?
Port Adelaide.
Yep.
Port Adelaide by 10. Matthew Broadbent plays game 100.
Good on you, Broady.
I'm going to say Port by 12 points, just too important to secure that home final.
I think Port will probably win as well, but close. I'm going to go 10 points.
Moving on.
Yes.
Moving on to North Melbourne versus Adelaide. It is Saturday afternoon at Blundstone Arena. Last time these two teams played, it was Adelaide by 36 points.
Where is Blundstone Arena? Can say
Tasmania.
Tasmania.
They'll revive it.
Correct. Yes. Okay.
Absolutely huge ramifications for this game. North will be looking to secure a home final themselves. Adelaide, as we talked about in News and Views, they'll want to make the finals, secure their spot in the top 8 there. North defeated the Dogs by 50 points on the weekend, and they've had a habit of late of absolutely putting sides away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Bulldogs challenged North Melbourne in the second quarter, but
Got within 14 points.
never really looked like beating them.
No. North were just really good. Daniel Wells on return was okay.
Now suspended.
So not probably the best return. He didn't really play well either. So probably not the ideal return for a star like Danny Wells, but overall that was superb. I thought my favourite player on the weekend for North, and he's a gun out through and through, is Andrew Swallow.
Yep.
He was just superb. He had 29 touches, I think 12 clearances, I think 11 tackles or something. He was just
very, very stiff to miss out on the team of the round.
super stiff. He had a lot of contested ball as well, and that's him at his best.
Yeah.
He suffered from the repercussions of the knee reco, but he's back in
Achilles.
Achilles, sorry, not Rico.
I thought Sam Gibson was also very, very
yes,
good.
He's
Absolutely.
He's been playing as an outside ball winner for North quite a lot, and he's been tagged actually.
He has not missed a game since debut.
Yeah, I love this stat. Josh always pulls it out, and I'm always surprised by it, but hasn't missed a game since debut, and he's been really, really good as an outside ball winner, so he's another one. And I tell you what, boys, I've got my blue and white on here because I'm a North supporter as far as Saturday afternoon is concerned.
We'll get to your tip in a minute. Relax.
Yep.
But going through our votes,
Yep.
we did give Swallow 3, Gibson 2. Ben Cunnington got 1.
Yep.
Ben Cunnington's kicked 7 goals in his last 2 games and had 43 disposals combined.
Jeez.
Unbelievable.
So he's had a couple of very, very good games, and he's hitting
20-3 is
Peak
no mean
form.
feat.
Just going into finals.
Yeah.
And you know, Greenwood and Cunnington, they're these really good mids because they can tag and they can also win a lot of their own balls. So that'd be good going into the finals.
I'll tell you what, boys, I'm a big fan of Big Ben Brown.
Yes. Big
Massive
Brown.
fan of Big Ben.
We all
Ben
love Big
Brown.
Ben Brown, yeah.
Sideshow Bob hairstyle.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, he's a very agile man.
He is,
For a big man, sorry.
Yeah.
The way he moves is just fantastic. He kicked 2 goals on the weekend, 15 disposals. I think he had 6 marks and 6 tackles.
Oh, he was unbelievable. He was actually quite a late draft pick.
Yep.
North picked him up. He played predominantly as a ruckman, believe it or not, in his junior days. But now they're using him as that high half forward kind of player, and he's worth every penny at the moment, Ben Brown.
I watched him a lot down at Werribee last year, where he played his football in the VFL, and I didn't expect him to get drafted, but I could see the potential there that.
And he's got the body for it, doesn't he? He's
absolutely.
a big body kind of
He's very, very
I just can't take
agile.
I just can't take it seriously. I went to school with a Ben Brown who supported North Melbourne for about 10 years, and every time I hear the name, I just can't disassociate. Anyway, moving on to the Adelaide Crows. They lost to Richmond by 10 points in the weekend. It was a game they needed to win, and now their finals chances are in the balance.
Well, the Crows looked certain, almost, I don't want to say certain, but they looked a shoe-in to the finals a couple of weeks ago after they beat...
Before this game. Collingwood it was.
I'll tell you what, they beat Collingwood, they had West Coast at home, and then they had Richmond at home. If you two weeks ago, that would have been the 2 easiest walks into the finals that you could have gotten. They lost both of them, and now they've got it all to do against North away. So they've put themselves in this bad position, and now they've got to find themselves a way out of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I felt they were quite lucky to lose by only 10 points because Richmond kicked 1 goal 13 at one point.
1 goal 13, you said?
1 goal 13.
Richmond played quite a tight lockdown type game style in the first half, especially. Adelaide just really couldn't break through that press.
I didn't really notice any Adelaide midfielder dominate the game.
Yeah. I think Adelaide's also their run-off half-back. I think teams are starting to figure out that when Adelaide win, it's usually when Matty Yench and Brodie Smith rack up the ball. Mainly Brodie Smith, because he's that guy that they get the ball to. But you notice that when they lose, those two go missing. Matty Yench, he was pretty poor on the weekend. I think he only had 18 disposals at a pretty low disposal efficiency. And Brodie Smith was pretty poor as well. Ricky Henderson's still struggling coming back from injury. So I think they're just getting worked out too easily.
If Daniel Taylor is not all Australian, that side is null and void. I'll tell you that much.
I reckon he's got the fullback All-Australian spot sewn up.
Kent Rewalt goalless for the first time since 2012.
Wow. Sam Jacobs probably also worth a mention this week. He was great in the ruck.
Similar story.
Tomato sauce.
If he's not in the side, it's null and void.
I think Ben Brown would be going up ahead of him. No, we're kidding. Sam Jacobs.
Who are we tipping, guys?
He's a Monty.
A Monty, that's
Monte
right.
Carlo, yes.
It's a battle of the inconsistent sides.
It is. Anything could happen. Flip a coin.
Anything could happen.
North Melbourne, when Brad Scott wakes up, he flips a coin. If it's heads, North play really well. If it's tails, they play like crap. So depends on that coin flip.
Well, I think it'll come up heads and they'll win by 14.
I'm going to say North just because they've been the more consistent side in the most recent...
To use North and the word consistent in the same sentence.
Well, out of these two inconsistent sides, in the most recent couple of games, they've been the more consistent side. Adelaide losing at home to Richmond. And North will be more familiar with Bloodstone and Reader. So North by 2 points.
Boys, when North win, you might see me in the huddle singing with them, joining the chorus. Because if Adelaide win this game, of course, for those of you who haven't worked it out, if Adelaide win this, West Coast is done for the season.
Yeah.
But honestly, I do think North should win this, and I think they will. So I'm going to go North by about 15 points.
Essendon versus Gold Coast, Saturday afternoon at Etihad Stadium. Last time these two teams played, it was Essendon by 43 points. They've won the only 3 encounters between these two sides, including one where they kicked, 94 points in the first quarter?
Yeah.
Just quickly.
Sorry. Ryan Bassanek plays game 100. Lindsay Thomas plays game 150. I apologise to
Lindsay
those
Thomas
two.
may not play though.
Essendon, they just got over Vinay's West Coast Eagles by 3 points on the weekend. And
Just is all that matters.
Bagley was great. 3 votes for him.
Mark Bagley was absolutely fantastic.
I'm kidding. He was.
Right.
He was excellent.
He had 24 disposals and having a terrific year. He was making a number of crucial tackles and spoils. I think he was matched up on Jack Darling a number of times, who's known for his contested marking and marking out on the lead. And I can't speak enough of Mark Bagley because he was just absolutely fantastic. He's 27 years of age. Not many people know that. He was drafted as a mature age defender. So he was absolutely fantastic. A lot of people criticised that we gave Bagley the 3 and not Heppel. But if Bagley didn't play, we wouldn't have won that game. Simple as that.
I'd agree with you there. I definitely think that Mark Bagley, his work in the defensive half, it's just his ability to... He's not only just a defender. I mean, he was able to get into the right spots. He played the loose sometimes, then he played a key position sometimes, then he ran it over half-back sometimes. It was very, very difficult to get a gauge on exactly what he was doing, and that was why he was so good. He was very versatile. I definitely agree with him being in the votes this week.
And Dyson Heppel, as you mentioned, was absolutely brilliant, and he's had a very consistent year, I'd say.
Absolutely. He's our next captain by far. He'll win our best and fairest by a mile.
Correct.
Possibly even the Brownlow this year if he keeps up this kind of form.
Absolutely. Vinay, he had 28 second half disposals.
Yeah, I think he's just one of those guys. The way you know the player is a class player is when, even if they've had a quiet couple of quarters, they can turn the game on its head in just one quarter. You see with guys like Ablett, Franklin, Selwood, the real class managed to do well no matter what. And that's what Dyson Heppel showed us. He was just unbelievable.
How was his first half before that, before the 28?
Oh, I was sitting up there with my dad and I said, this is the worst game I've seen Dyson Heppel.
Well, Mark Hutchings, really? I think we should give a lot of credit to Mark Hutchings, who kept Heppel really, really tightly shut up and accountable at the stoppages.
Yeah.
And Hutchie does that really, really well with stoppage players. Like, he kept Kennedy quiet. But I think Heppel, in that second half, he was just sublime. He ran his butt off half back. He was providing so much link-up play that Essendon just needed him so badly.
I'll tell you what, it took 14 seconds for Joe Watson to impact a game. What a start that was.
I tell you, I was watching that and I started scratching my head going, who's on Watson?
the players got around him. It was fantastic to see. And even on the final sign, the emotion that Joe showed.
I loved what he did on the final siren. It's like he was trying to make sure someone got a good photo of him. He sort of fist pump and then to this photographer.
This photographer. He was trying to look for someone to go
really, yeah.
But before we get on to the Suns, guys, tell me one thing.
Okay.
What would you do to convince Jason Winderlich out of retirement?
Lots of money.
Probably, yeah. I can't see him responding. Because the reason he's giving it up is because of his body, I think.
Yeah.
So the only reason I can see him going on is probably money. But I don't know, if Essendon go further in the final, maybe if they get up to the prelim of the granny, then maybe...
It was a rhetorical question.
It was?
Because he won't go on next year, but...
He won after what McGovern did to him on the weekend. But,
well, he kicked 3 goals and...
we'll continue on.
Anyway, Essendon must keep winning, obviously. Right. Gold Coast Suns, I see them as the danger game. Good segue here.
Who lost to Port by 9 points.
Yeah. I see it as a massive danger game because a young side on their day can do just about anything.
Tell you who can do just about anything. That's Harley Bennell. 2 votes on the weekend for his game against
Bennell or Bennell?
It's Bennell, and the West Coast one is Bennell. No, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. We've got Bennell, and then they've got Bennell. That's it.
But
I'm confused, guys.
No, they're not related.
They're not related.
I don't think they're related.
I'm not getting a comprehensive
But in any case,
answer.
Harley Bennell, he was spectacular. He had 27 touches and 2 goals, and an absolute blinder in that last
I
quarter.
haven't seen that goal yet.
It was an absolute perler of a blinder.
It was left foot from... He was about 1.5 meters from the pocket. And it's just sort of... It hasn't curved through the air like you usually see a snap from that angle.
Yeah.
It's just sort of floated. The ball is...
Just wobbled.
The ball is long ways up. And it's just kind of floated.
Yeah, long way, like vertical. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't going end over end. It was just kind of floating.
Let me put it this way to those who haven't seen it. It's a goal that you would only see in torrid wet weather conditions. You would not see a goal.
I'll have to have a look after we
The ball was a bar of soap and he hit it probably correctly. But
if it was anyone else, it would have been a miss kick. But
Harley
with Harley putting it on the bird.
But it was very, very good. And I think Gold Coast, they were actually leading for quite a bit, but Port just turned it on in that third quarter and managed to flip their fortunes.
I think if Gold Coast are to win or have a good chance of winning, their rebounding defenders need to have a very good game. I talk about the likes of David Swallow, McKenzie, Harbrow, Kolajasny.
Yeah.
I think they play really well when those defenders
push up and really
and impact the scoreboard.
Correct. Yeah. Which they haven't been doing very much recently.
Yeah.
Who's going to win, guys?
I think we will comfortably.
Comfortably.
Yeah.
What is it Etihad? So I don't.
Is it Etihad? Gold Coast coming off a very wet, hard slog. Having to travel as well. I can see them being a little bit tired. Hopefully I'm not getting a little ahead of myself here. But Don's just allowed 3 goals after half-time last week. So they'll need big games from their forwards in Dixon, Lynch and Day. I think Essendon will win by 45.
I think Essendon will get it done by about 5 goals. I agree with your logic that Gold Coast will be tired, and also they got pumped by Carlton the last time they're down here, so I'd back the Bombers here.
I'm going to say Essendon by 26 points this week. Gold Coast, yeah.
Just to be honest, just a win would be nice.
Just a win? I want to give them a chance in Melbourne, but I think Essendon will be too strong. Moving on to GWS versus Collingwood. It's Saturday afternoon at Spotless Stadium. Last time these two teams met, it was Collingwood by 40 points. The Giants had their most famous win in their very short history.
Nick, you were saying Spotless Stadium. What's it like up there?
Oh, it's pretty clean up there. They won by 64 points over the Demons. Their most famous win.
Biggest ever victory and the first at the MCG. So massive day for the Giants to get over the Demons. We'll get into the Demons a little bit later on. So
this is confirmed as GWS's biggest win.
Yeah,
like margin.
Margin as well.
Okay, yeah.
But you see a game in the second quarter. The game is in the balance. I'm questioning my tip whether or not, which I had actually changed it in my work tipping to get one up. Questioning whether or not that was a good idea to tip GWS. You see John Patton go down with an ACL, which is terrible, by the way. GWS, they absolutely turn it on.
Well, they lost Callum Ward and Phil Davis as well.
Callum Ward, Phil Davis, the side's being absolutely decimated.
So they're losing some of their best players. Callum Ward is by far and above their best.
That's their 2 co-captains.
Correct. They've lost pretty much, and Ward's their best player as well. The kids showed an enormous amount of potential. Adam Treloar, early on, he looked to be tagged out of the game, and what I said before about Heppel, class players find a way. Here's another one.
Well, speaking of kids, Devon Smith, I think, is a real smoky chance of winning their best and fairest. He'll at least finish top 5.
Yeah.
He's averaged 21 disposals this year and kicked 23 goals.
He's a absolute carbon copy of Dane Zorko. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
He's a younger version of Dane Zorko. Gets a lot of the ball, kicks goals, and is quick.
Yep. Reece Palmer, probably best on ground for them. He was great as well.
Yeah, he kicked 4 goals, 17 disposals. He was fantastic. He did get best in ground. Will Hoskin-Elliott as well is playing some really consistent football as well, showing why he was taken a pick 4 in the draft. He kicked 3 goals on the weekend. He's kicked 20 for the year in his 18 games, so averaging more than 1 a game, so that's fantastic.
And Josh Kelly was another one that was very impressive for them.
27 disposals, 2 goals. He was absolutely fantastic. We just talk about these kids, how they're going to get better with age. Lockie Whitfield's out of the side at the moment. A lot of people forget that.
When he comes back.
I mean, Jeremy Cameron's also out of the side at the moment. So
got some big names missing.
I'll tell you what, I am absolutely devastated for Patton with that ACL. He's going to miss most of next year. It's just a shocking story.
I want to move on to Collingwood, but I couldn't believe watching Ed and Derm's Big Weight in Footy the other night. Kevin Sheedy.
You watch that show?
I suppose somebody has to watch it, but continue.
Kevin Sheedy, obviously still heavily involved with the Giants. They're having a discussion about the potential that Patton could have already agreed on terms with the Bulldogs. And Kevin Sheedy didn't deny it in any way. It almost, the way they were talking, it was almost as if they were all quite sure that it already happened.
No, it didn't. I mean, on the footy show, I think Adam Cooney was asked about it, and Cooney didn't deny it. What he actually said, what do you guys think of this? He actually said, I know that they have a lot of money left over in the salary cap.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they did go for someone big. So,
I don't know.
Do they now?
I don't know. It's all very speculative, isn't it? But
because he's out for 12 months. He's a big guy recovering from an ACL. His second ACL.
And even after he comes back, he'll need to be eased into it. It's really you feel just awful for him because he's barely had a go at all. But
it's a horrible situation for all involved there. But
anyway, let's moving
on to Collingwood, who lost to Brisbane by 67 points. No impressive players to talk about for them.
And
there was because there was one who we'll get onto, but it's worth mentioning that they were absolutely decimated by injury. We said in News and Views, it's almost their 5 best players, and Elliott, Cloak, Pendlebury, Beams, Reid as well.
Let me just reel off the injuries they've had in the last 3 weeks, right? Scott Pendlebury, over the last month even, let's go. Dane Swan, Scott Pendlebury, Dane Beams, Ben Reid, Travis Cloak, Taylor Adams, Jamie Elliott. I said Ben Reid? Yep. Yeah. That's unbelievable. That's probably 7 of their best players. Best, and I mean that really, really literally. I'm not using that loosely.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. You've got to feel bad for the.
Well, there's no other word to use for that game other than nightmare.
Yeah.
They had an absolute nightmare. They lost Elliott and Pendlebury before the game.
Yep. And Pendlebury in the warm-up.
Pendlebury in the warm-up. And which brings us to Tony Armstrong.
Yeah.
That is a phenomenal effort. If you're unaware, Tony Armstrong came into the side after playing 4 quarters in the VFL down in Geelong. So he's had to come up the highway.
Oh, big trip that
Put on the vest.
Come on pretty much straight away.
Halfway through the first quarter when Reid does his hamstring.
Yep.
And play another 3 quarters of the elite level.
Pendlebury in the warm-up, he'd had, I think it was a quad.
No, it was his thigh.
Thigh.
What happened was a ball hit him.
Yeah,
he caught his thigh.
He'd recovered from that because he's one of the best professionals in the business. He's got up from the game. He's in the warm up. It's literally 10 seconds from stopping the warm up. Like they're just about to go in for their final preparations. A ball has just hit him in the spot, and it's spasmed.
In that exact spot.
It is crazy bad luck.
You know, it's not your night when that happens.
Anyway, I'll tell you what. Yeah, it was just a night to forget for Collingwood. Oh my goodness.
They go up to Spotless Stadium this week. Do we think they'll beat the Giants?
They should win this week, but even if they do win, they'll probably miss out on finals, which is really, really disappointing. So
it's devastating to say the least. At one stage they looked like certain top 8, good chance for top 4.
Yeah.
Now they're not.
It's all falling apart for them. I'm going to say Collingwood by 11 points up at Spotless.
Collingwood by 31 for me.
I'm going to say GWS, boys. I cannot.
Oh, seriously?
I honestly, I'm actually very surprised that you two have gone Collingwood. When I was writing my tip, I thought these two will definitely go GWS. I cannot see Collingwood winning. How are they going to win? They've got absolutely no run. They've got nothing going for them, and GWS are actually quite good up there at the Cleanliness Stadium. But honestly, and GWS, the confidence would be brimming up there after winning. At least 10 GWS players have tweeted how happy they were about that win. Yep. And I can't see Collingwood rebounding from a terrible loss to Brisbane, losing their star players, and then beating GWS.
Of the players who have come out injured this week, who's going to get up for this game?
Dane Beams out for the season with a PCL, I think.
Pendlebury won't play?
No, it wasn't a PCL.
It wasn't a PCL.
It's just
Cloak's out for the year.
Bone bruising. So, but he still won't play for the rest of the season.
No.
Scott Pendlebury is unlikely, I think.
Unlikely. Yep. Cloak's unlikely.
Reid is definitely unlikely.
You know
Reid
what?
won't play again this
I'm
season.
tipping the Giants as well.
Yep. I don't understand why you guys have tipped GWS.
No, I was under the assumption that Pendlebury would be getting back, and then I've overlooked. Yep, I'm going to say the Giants as well. I'll tip the Giants.
I think Josh is just so far ahead that he doesn't really care anymore. But
sticking with Pies?
I think he might be. He's tempted.
No, I'm not.
All right, okay.
But that's changed my mind. I don't think that's happened before.
Yeah. I don't think Collingwood by 5 goals and then change my mind.
All right, we'll see. We'll wait and see.
Moving on, West Coast versus Melbourne. Saturday night at Patterson Stadium. Last time the two teams played, it was West Coast by 93 points, if you don't mind. Could be even more this week at Patterson Stadium. They've won the last 7 against the Demons. The Bombers, as we spoke about earlier, they lost to Essendon by 3 points. Pritis was great.
Sorry? The Eagles.
The Melbourne lost to GWS.
No. West Coast, they lost to the Bombers.
Yes, but then you just said Essendon lost to the Bombers.
Oh, my bad. Anyway, West Coast lost to the Bombers. Pritis was great. He got the 1 vote.
Yeah, well, West Coast have won their last 6 games. They've won their last 7, but their last 6 games against Melbourne, they've won by an average of 71 points.
So they do like beating up on.
They like beating up the Demons.
So, but look, West Coast, they played extremely well against Essendon. I don't often say that a side should have won the game, should have, would have, could have, but to be perfectly honest, they probably deserved to the way they played for 3 quarters. Essendon, they're the kind of team that was never going to go away. They're one of the teams that never say die in the AFL, and I think West Coast just probably ran out of legs at the wrong time against a team that was never really going to give it up. But I think the Eagles have got a good chance here. They've got a bit of a, they've got the 7-day break this time, and it's a home game. They love playing at Patterson's, and Melbourne, coming off a really demoralising loss, have to fly out.
6-day break too.
Yep, and West Coast is going to have a packed out crowd cheering them on too, because this is a really important game. The amount of points they win this game by goes a long, long way toward their final aspirations.
Absolutely. Well, the thing I noticed about the game on Saturday against my boys was the pressure really dropped off in that second half.
Yep,
in the first half, that pressure was immense.
Yep.
And you forced us to rush our kicks.
Yep.
But in the second half, I noticed we were allowed to run through the middle a lot.
Correct.
David Myers, Mark Bagley, Courtney Dempsey.
Dyson Heppel,
Heppel, ran through that midfield too often.
Far too easily, yeah.
Far too easily.
Jeremy McGovern, like I said, he's only played 11 games, but he's got the maturity of probably, a man much more. And he spoke during the week saying that Essendon deserved the win, but he also said that, the run that they had, they fell back into old patterns, is what he said in that last quarter. They went back to just bombing it down the line, not really looking for targets. At one stage, West Coast had 18 inside 50s in a row.
Yep.
Unanswered.
Yep.
18 in a row, and it was 22
quarter.
to 6.
Yeah, in the first quarter.
They were all over them, but that does tell me they went back in old patterns. But he blasted his teammates, and this week, how good was Eric McKenzie, Josh?
He was very, very good. Very, very good.
It was very, very
Simple
good.
as that?
He was, and he'll be very, very good this week. Moving on, but before I do that, Scott Lysette has signed on for 4 years.
Great news for the Eagles.
Great news for the Eagles, and Andrew Gaff and Jack Darling have also signed on. So Eagles have, shut up shop. All their key players are now contracted for longer, and they will fire this week. Pritis again was spectacular on the weekend against Geelong.
So was Luke Shuey. I thought it was one of his better games.
He's learned how to break the tag.
Guys, I really want to talk about the Demons here. And I know I hate suggesting this myself, and I know the supporters don't like me suggesting it. But how can you kick 3 goals 16 in a game of football? How can you be...
They kicked 3 goals 16.
3 goals 16.
No.
How can you be within a chance, with a chance of winning the game, with a team that is around you on the ladder, you should be getting up for this game, putting in your best effort.
Yep.
I don't think it's possible to be that bad, that inaccurate. Paul Roos can say what he likes. I don't think they were trying to win that game.
3 goals 16 is ridiculous. I think Melbourne, to be honest, you look at them now, I can't really see if they've come very far away from where they were at the start of the year. From the end of last year, they're losing to sides by a lot of points. They're struggling to hit the scoreboard. It's the same thing all over again.
But this was the same thing against Brisbane.
Correct.
Another team that, this is the game they should be getting up for, putting their every last little bit of effort in to win. Well, they was that inaccurate against Brisbane as well.
You're right. I think that it's getting to the fans. The fact that they've waited a whole year and it looked like they were going to improve, didn't it, Josh? At the start of the year, it looked like they were on the right track, and then all of a sudden, bang, they're done again. And I know some, on Twitter, some of the Melbourne fans I saw had ripped up their memberships, and one of them was holding it and lighting it on fire and all kinds of silly things. So I think Melbourne, this is literally just the last thing that I want to be doing right now, flying to the other end of the country, fighting a side that's really keen to play finals.
Well, before we give our tips, boys, give me a minute or so to go to town of the Demons.
Wow. All right, I'm looking forward to this.
Bernie Vince was one of their better players,
yes,
right? And he had 28 disposals, had a fantastic game. He said during the week that they couldn't afford to lose this game, and they were ready to go and beat the Giants. Worst case scenario happened, they got smashed. Absolutely smashed.
Happened, yep.
3 goals in a game of football, as we spoke about, is not good enough and not AFL standard.
No, definitely not. That's under 18 standard. Probably not even under 18 standard, to be honest. But
no.
Continue.
And half their list is not AFL standard.
I would agree with that, for sure.
And I would not put it beyond Port Melbourne in the VFL being able to beat this current Melbourne side. Because
tell you what, Josh Rickard...
They are absolutely horrible at the moment. And their senior players need to really stand up, and they're not at the moment.
Well, that is a very, very big... That's whack,
and
Nick.
I saw 2 greater signs of improvement earlier in the year. 5 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago before this losing streak started, the signs of improvement were too great for me to believe that they have turned it around to be that bad now. I do not see it possible. It's not possible for them to lose by that margin to GWS after being within the game. I really don't like suggesting it, but I don't think they're trying that hard to win.
How Jack Watts continues to get a game is beyond me, by the way.
Anyway, who are we tipping?
West Coast by 87.
West Coast by 110.
Okay, well, I hope you're both right. I reckon the Eagles will absolutely murder them. They rolled GWS earlier in the year and Kennedy kicked 11. I think something like that will happen again. West Coast by about 90 for me.
Guys, game of the round, potentially game of the season, and it is every time it occurs. Hawthorn versus Geelong, Saturday night at the MCG. Last time the two teams played, it was Geelong by 19 points, guys. They've won the last 12 of the last 13 against the Hawks, have the Cats.
There's a bit of attitude in that, wasn't there, Josh? It wasn't just a...
There's a bit of a listen closely. Where
all right, well, I think Hawthorn were pretty good, and I think they'll win. So moving on, boys, getting on to the next game.
Okay, the Hawks, they lost by 19 points to the Dockers in what was a terrific game of football for about 3.5 quarters there.
They were out-pressured by Fremantle, I thought. We've spoken a number of times this year. The way to beat Hawthorn is to pressure them They love their efficient game.
Yep.
Their kicking is their strongest point. You pressure them at all costs. That pressure obviously causes turnover. So, yeah.
I think it's worth noting to half-time, I think Hawthorn had just 5 turnovers. So Fremantle's pressure was only in the second half that it really, really got to Hawthorn there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Hawthorn were actually really right in the game, even up until at the start of the third quarter. Freo just flew away from them, kicked really, really quick goals, and Hawthorn, the defence from Fremantle was spectacular. A late press was not enough from Hawthorn. You could tell they really, really lacked a big, tall target down forward. Tim O'Brien, Hawthorn fans have gone to town on him, Josh. Yep, they're not happy with him at all, apparently. No. They're saying he's insipid and useless and just a waste of...
I actually didn't mind his efforts on the weekend.
Apparently he's a waste of a selection and all these really, really harsh things on poor little Timmy O'Brien, but...
you know why?
Yes, why?
Because you replaced Matt Spanger.
Yes, you're right.
Well, on the other end of the scale, Jordan Lewis has been great for the whole year. I thought he was great again on the
44 disposals. He's not another one out of Brownlow contention.
He's from some other planet, Jordan Lewis, because he can tag, he can play as a forward, and he can accumulate a motherload of ball all on his own. And I tell you what, he's just an absolute star.
Well, we spoke about it in News and Views. He came from that draft of Ablett, Bartel, Kelly,
Maloney, all those
guys in there. He came from that draft as well. So that draft is just
Deledio and
phenomenal. Paul
Populo.
Kicked 4 goals, was brilliant early, but fell away.
Yeah, he did, he had a bit of an injury niggle as well.
Yeah.
Dislocated his thumb, I think, and he had to put it back in, but he wasn't...
Dislocated his thumb?
Yep. And he had to put it back in, but he wasn't quite the same after. Matty Suckling went off. Ankle, And, it's when you lose one of your probably prime movers and prime kickers in the team, he's more almost a place kicker of the team.
Yeah.
It's going to be... They struggle to get that run off half back.
Well, they'll get Roughhead back this week, which
Ruffy.
is a massive inclusion, obviously. But they dropped this game. All of a sudden, our home finals is in trouble.
You're right, and Geelong, they're hungry at the moment, and they are in the...
If Hawthorn drop this game, they won't get a home final. Geelong's got Brisbane in the final round there.
Well, they did only beat them by
Brisbane,
last year.
they could get it done to the Lions. Go the Lions.
The key to this game, as is every time they play, Hawthorn is the best clearance side in the competition, and Geelong is, if not the best, up there with the best rebounding use of the corridor sides in the competition. Yep. So it's always just this cat and mouse game of Hawthorn winning the clearance.
Cat and hawk,
I guess, and Geelong sending it right back at them.
Slingshot footy.
Geelong, they beat Carlton by 6 points. Very, very shaky.
By the skin of their teeth.
But in close games, boys, they just know how to get it done.
Talk about it.
Tell you what.
Talk about it.
I tell you, a few people might be a little angry at the umpire that gave Alan Christensen a bit of a look.
I think there's a bigger talking point this week, Vinay. It's Josh Caddy, who was best on ground.
Where is the bloody ding meter?
No, I don't
He's
know.
gone. You haven't got Josh for not
I keep forgetting it, but I'll do it this week. Do the ding thing. Do the ding. Okay. Josh Caddy was best on ground. I think he had 28, finished with a goal. His tackling pressure was absolutely exceptional. His work in the contest was exceptional early on. Come on,
be fair.
But I think the reason we really saw him shine in this game, and I don't think there's many who will disagree that he got the 3 votes there. The reason he really stood out is because he was allowed to perform in that second midfielder role to Selwood. Yep. Where usually, you've got Johnson ahead of him, you've got Christensen ahead of him. Hall and Smith usually is getting a bigger midfield role. Caddy's been relegated to the sub in recent weeks because there's just too many other candidates there. Yep. But when Caddy was allowed to play his own game in the role that he should be playing, he was exceptional.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And you can see that's what he was picked up for, wasn't he? I mean, when once one of these guys leaves, he's going to be an absolute superstar in that midfield, you think. He'd just slot straight into that inside ball.
I've been telling you guys all this time. Another player, I thought he played...
Josh, he's just got the most plain look on his face. Yeah, continuing.
A player who I thought played his best game for the club was Mark Blitzarves. His game... He plays about 8 different positions every time he plays.
Mark Bill Calves is just an absolute... Bill Calves is one of the best utilities... Blycavs is one of the best utilities in the AFL.
He's absolutely unique. I can't think of a player who's even close to comparing to
And he's actually pretty quick for a big guy. He actually can run, yeah.
But the thing with his games is, you see him have 19 disposals. On the weekend, he had 19 disposals, 13 hit-outs as the second ruck, 2 contested marks inside 50s as a forward. He also kicked a goal. He's having inside 50s himself. He's tackling. He can play as a midfielder, a key forward, a ruck, wherever you want him to. And he's so valuable. I saw him win a hit-out. No midfielder grabbed the hit out, so he picked it up himself, took on 2 midfielders, ran out onto the wing, delivered it lace out inside 50. He literally can do it all.
He's a very good player for Geelong, and he's the kind of guy that you'd love to have in your side just because he can do anything. If another player goes down to injury, you've got this other bloke in the team that can just slot in and say, I'll do it. So that is very useful for them. Boys, who are we going to tip?
I think Tom Hawkins needs to fire. Otherwise, I see it very hard for Geelong to win.
Yep. If he lets him get shut up like he did against Carlton, and Hawthorn do have a good defence, so you think Josh Gibson will go to him?
Brian Lake will go
to him. I think up the other end of the ground there'll be an almost as intriguing battle as well with Harry Taylor. Harry Taylor is in the best form of his career, key position defender there. Lonigan's in some brilliant form and Rivers is in some great form. Yep. So the Hawthorn forwards are really going to struggle to get past the Geelong defence at the other end of the ground as well.
Yeah, I'd agree, boys. What's your tip?
Oh, Geelong 8-day break, no travel. Hawthorn 6-day break,
travel. Yeah.
Geelong just.
I can't believe it. I thought it was a sure thing you were tipping the Hawks this week. But what do you reckon?
He thinks you're a Hawthorn supporter, doesn't he?
I do. I'm going to buy him a Hawthorn jersey.
Well, I think the Cats will win, and I want the Cats to win. Because if they don't, then Sydney will get complacent and all sorts of tomfoolery occur. So Geelong will...
Richmond going and West Coast don't.
I won't get into that, but I will say that I think the Cats will win, and I think they'll honestly get it done by about 5 points. It'll be close.
I'm absolutely baffled. I seriously thought I'd be the one out this week.
I know.
Last time these two teams played...
He's right to get him, doesn't he?
Last time these two teams played, Geelong won it by 19 points. They didn't have...
Thanks for that, again.
Thanks. They didn't have Motlop, Christensen or Caddy in that side, and those three players are three of our top 5 performers at the moment. That's why I'm going to say Geelong will win. They'll win by 8 points.
Moving on, it's Brisbane versus Fremantle. Sunday afternoon at the Gabba. Not too hot, I hope, for the Fremantle up there at the Gabba in the Sunday afternoon game. Last time those two teams played, it was Fremantle by 83. Last time those two teams played, it was Fremantle by 83 points. They've won the last 6 against the Lions. Brisbane defeated Collingwood by 67 points. Unbelievable.
Yeah, despite Collingwood's injuries, Brisbane looked really good early on and looked like winning that game from the very start.
Yep.
Before Reid went down...
I think they laid it every change, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
This is going to sound harsh to Brisbane, but I think they're a simple beast in the sense that they have 3 players. If you can stop 2 out of the 3...
Hanley, Zorko, Rockcliffe.
Thank you.
Yep.
I don't want to say that they're a simple team, they don't have any other good players, because they definitely do, but I'm just saying that these 3 are the biggest playmakers that they've got, and if you can stop at least 2 of them, just 2 of them, then you will beat them. And you can go back and look at the stats against the teams who have beaten them. Every time Brisbane have lost, at least 2 of those guys have not performed. And usually it's Zorko and Hanley who are the easy ones to tag. Collingwood just had no clue what they were doing. Zorko and Hanley ran rampant. I think Zorko was on 19 touches to half time.
Yeah.
And Hanley ended up with something ridiculous. Rockcliffe again finished with 40 plus.
Well, speaking of that man, over the last month, he is averaging 40 and a half disposals a game.
Mother of all that is holy, Tom Rockcliffe.
That is phenomenal.
I tell you, this guy...
It's just unheard of numbers.
He's a top 5 midfielder. You can't deny that anymore. He's a top 5 midfielder. But, Fremantle, they're one of the best defensive sides in the game. So you would think that Hanley and Zorko and Rockcliffe will get the creepy Crowley tag. So
yeah, you'd think so. Zorko had 36 disposals and kicked 2 goals. He's a barometer for me, for Brisbane. When he's up and going...
Good call.
Yeah.
You have mentioned this before, actually.
The team is up and going.
Yeah.
And that's what happened on Saturday night. So.
Cool. A player who's helping Brisbane get up and going at the moment is Steph Martin. I thought he was great on the weekend.
32 disposals as a ruckman.
When does that happen? He had 24 hit-outs and 32 disposals. That is just unbelievable. He's got
phenomenal.
He obviously works extremely hard around the ground. And how good is that having a big man that can get win that much of his own ball?
Yeah.
He knows his role as well because 32 of those disposals were 26 handballs. So
wow. So you're right. He knows what he needs to do.
He knows what he needs to do as a ruckman.
How about this, guys? At the start of the year, Justin Leppich actually planned to delist Stephen Martin.
Yep.
And the only reason he got a game is because Matty Leuenberger went down, Trent West went down. And Archie Smith, I believe his name is still on the rookie list. So they had to play. They literally had no other choice but to play him. But if you delist him now...
I don't think that'll be happening somehow.
So what happens to poor old Trent West? Because he actually played pretty well. He might have to head back to Geelong.
Just
thanks.
Just before we get on to Fremantle, Joe Freeman kicked 4 goals in his second game, which is a massive confidence booster. He's a terrific talent. So, Fremantle boys, we said it just before, they were back to their pressuring Brest, I thought, against Hawthorn. I feel, even though they lost against your boys 2 weeks ago, I just feel like they're getting back to their best.
I agree.
And they're a real threat comes to
the reason I feel that is because their team is getting back to what it usually is. Fremantle's a team that if they can put their best 22 on the park, they're one of the best in the AFL. If they can't, anyone can beat them, I think, in my opinion. But that is going to be tested in the next couple of weeks because Nat Fyfe is out.
Yep.
The tribunal has suspended him for 2
weeks.
Yep.
So he won't play
his
the
season's
finals.
done. He will play the finals.
He won't play till finals.
Oh, I think you said he won't play the finals. He's suspended for the rest of the season, but they've got Walters back, and he was very good.
He was pretty good.
8 score involvements, a goal, and 15 disposals.
And 4 goal assists.
Yeah.
How good is that?
I thought it's just critical to that.
I thought Hill was absolutely critical to that.
he's
side.
Three goals, 20
Jeez, he's an
disposals.
exciting player.
Spectacular.
Absolutely. Matthew Pavlich, even after 310 or so games, is still winning this football club games off
gets
his
it
own
done.
boot.
Correct.
He kicked 5 goals.
Bit of a form slump, but he's come back in style.
Oh, he's a star of the game.
Never right off a champion.
He's one of the best of all time. But
That was a brilliant performance.
boys, the last time these teams met, it took Brisbane, I think, a half a footy.
Oh, that was
Over a
crazy.
half. to
It's
score their
just
first
unbelievable. To kick their first was a point.
point because they had
That
point.
was a rush.
Nick
behind.
remembers
There's a
it,
rush
yeah.
behind.
And I remember Joel Patfull's tweet. I'll always remember, the Brisbane Lions tweet, where it was like, Joel Patfull has it, and he's going to wind up for 50 or
We're going to
maybe-
go inside 50. Or maybe he'll kick it sideways.
And Nick made a perfect observation that they could have just bombed it from 70 and just gotten some kind of behind. They could have scored, but
They had 5 inside 50s for a half, I think it was.
yes. So that's how much they struggle against Freya's defence. How will they go this time?
Is that maybe a hint to your tip this week?
Not much better.
It is.
Fremantle by 53.
I think that's generous, to be honest. I think Freya will get it done by 70.
I think Fremantle will win by 28. I was actually pretty impressed with Brisbane on the weekend.
Okay, wow.
28.
Okay.
Moving on, boys. We're flying back down to Melbourne.
We are.
Getting on the
We
plane
need to
here.
start flying because we're running out of time here. So Western Bulldogs versus Sydney, Sunday afternoon at Etihad Stadium. Last time these two teams played, it was Sydney by 35 points, who have won the last 5. Western Bulldogs, they tried to stay in touch with North, but they lost by 50 points in the end.
I think their key ball winners were curtailed too easily. Ryan Griffin got a lot of the ball, but he wasn't as effectual as he usually is. Effectual. He wasn't as, damaging.
Interesting.
Matty Boyd was good without being great. Adam Cooney was quite good, I thought. That's 2 good weeks for the Coon. He was very good last week, and he's followed it up with a...
So, you just got to be careful with that nickname.
Adam Cooney, don't.
He is actually referred to as
the
Coon,
Western
so
Bulldogs.
I'm not out of line here, but
And the Doggies fans do go Coon.
they do say the
so
Coon. So
we're not being what you think.
Let's just all calm down.
Continue.
And Tom Liberatore,
Yep.
he was taken and put back in the kennel and locked up.
Yeah.
He was not allowed to come out.
No impact on
No
the game.
impact whatsoever.
One player that did have an impact was Marcus Bontempelli.
He was like a
Bontempelli,
dog with a
well,
bone
hell,
in the
Now,
nose.
I'm cautious of using the word gun on young players.
no.
But I'm not going to.
Good.
It's hard not to, though.
Oh no.
It's hard not to.
Okay,
I'm not
continue.
calling him one.
Yep, you're right. All right, continue.
But it's hard not to
Yep.
not to call him one because
I'll put you out of your misery. He's a gun.
no, he's not yet.
He's got a lot of Pendlebury about him.
Yeah.
In the sense that he's a tall, skinny midfielder that's a very good kick, has got very good poise,
Yep.
and his evasive skills, I think Nick mentioned a while ago, are very, very,
Well,
very
his
good.
poise and his evasive skills are probably two of the best attributes of his
Yeah.
game because everybody says about Pendlebury, his ability to find space and just make time slow down around him. That's what it seems like.
yeah.
And Bontempelli does the exact same thing.
And he kicks goals. At one stage, he was the leading disposal getter and leading goal kicker on their
Yeah.
team. So he's a really, really good prospect for the future. Looking at the other side of this coin,
Bulldogs should get McRae back this week after he was a late withdrawal.
like with Warriors.
Looking-
On the other side of this is the Sydney Football Club.
They won by 71 points on the weekend over St Kilda.
Comfortable.
Didn't
Very
really get out of first gear, really.
comfortable. Oh, I tell you what.
They just went through the motions.
Buddy Franklin, I think he had 4 goals at half time, 3 goals at quarter time,
Yep.
and 4 at half time. And then he just went whack, whack, whack after that, and we ended up with 9-4.
Yep.
And he's probably a Monty to win the Coleman, but
A Monty, you say?
a Monte Carlo. But I think it wasn't all smiles for Sydney. Josh Kennedy went down,
Yeah,
And the subject.
127 games straight he's played, so he's been very durable.
and for the Sydney fans out there wondering, Sydney have said that Kennedy is a chance. It's not unlikely. It's probably unlikely that he will not play, but they're saying don't rule it out because he could be back this week. If not, very likely to come back the next week. But
Jared McVeigh I thought was great as well, as was Luke Parker.
correct, those two have been performing all year.
All year. McVeigh's run-off halfback's just been phenomenal. Luke Parker
Inside prowess and
has just slotted right into Drew Bolton's vacant role there that he left last year. I want to talk about 3 players that came into the side, they've come into the side this year, that are having an impact and keeping senior players out of the side.
Harry Cunningham.
Oh, he's not there actually. But he's another.
He's another.
But Shane Biggs came in this week for his
Yeah,
first
good,
game of the
yeah.
year, had 24 disposals.
Was good.
Jake Lloyd has played all year.
And been really good, yeah.
Been fantastic. And Dean Towers came on the sub early and had a prolific impact.
Yep.
And this is what separates Sydney from the rest.
They've got the depth to match it, don't they?
They do.
And Tom Mitchell still can't break into that side.
No, he can't.
Oh, he's injured at the moment.
But even when he wasn't injured,
Even when
he
he
had a
wasn't
50
injured.
touch game and he couldn't break it.
couldn't break
50
it.
touch, he had 60.
60.
Yeah.
So there you go. And that didn't get him a game. But Shane Biggs is actually, if you will follow his NEFL form, he's averaged, I think, 40 disposals a game in the NEFL. So, and it's taken him this long to get a go. So if that doesn't tell you a lot about how tough it is to get into that side, then nothing else will.
Ben McGlynn also in a little bit of doubt with a calf injury, which is a little concerning because calves do take
and flare up a bit, don't
and
they?
he's been one of their best in recent weeks as well.
Absolutely. He'll be right up there in their
too.
best and fairest. So,
Guys, how tough will it be for the Bulldogs this week?
I think it'll be really
very
tough. I think they'll be really, really hard pressed, and I think Sydney will get it done by about 45 points.
Yeah, I think Sydney by 71 actually, because if Hawthorn win, the percentage will be right up there. So 71.
It's 56 for me.
Moving on to the last game of the round, we've got to race through it. Richmond versus St.Kilda. It's Sunday afternoon at the MCG. Last time these two teams met, it was Richmond by 44 points, who have won the last 4 encounters. The Tigers, they defeated Adelaide by 10 points, keeping their finals hopes alive in the process. And Trent Cotchin led from the front. He got the 3 votes.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys. The Herald Sun, during the week, released a top 18 best AFL club songs. And Richmond were number 1 on that. And it might just be because we've been hearing it a lot recently.
No, it's the best. It's the best song in the league by a long way.
Okay, well they're doing us all a favour then and getting it played very often because they've won 7 in a row now.
Finals is certainly on the agenda.
Oh, it's on the cards. They've got to win both their games, mind you, St Kilda and Sydney, but you would not put them out of doubt for both of those because the form they're in is absolutely blitzing. Brett Deledio is one that I want to talk about. Earlier in the year, we brought him up. The panel brought him up and we said, he's one that needs to get going if Richmond are going to have any hope.
Yep.
And the last couple of weeks, he has been exhilarating. Unbelievable. On the
2 goals, 4 and 28 disposals.
29.
29.
2 goals, 4.
Yeah.
That tells me that he could have had a 29 touch, 6 goal performance. He's just absolutely out of sight. It's amazing to see how far they've come. Earlier in the year, people were thinking complete rebuild.
Well, they were equal last halfway through the year, sitting in 16th position.
Yeah. And everyone was thinking, complete rebuild. It's time to knock over the building and start building. And now they're looking at finals. So it's unbelievable how quick things can change.
Brandon Ellis had another 27 disposal plus game.
How long has it been since he's gone under 26? It's been about
I think that's
10
about
weeks or something,
8 weeks in a row. That is just...
It's unbelievable. He's almost, he's a shoo-in to get a lot of the ball every single week.
Before we get on to the Saints, boys, one thing Richmond must not do this week is be complacent against St Kilda.
Oh, definitely not.
No, because Saints will be out there. Because the Saints, this is probably Lenny Hayes' last game in
Melbourne.
Yeah, you're right. Because the last one's at Adelaide Oval. So, the Saints have nothing to lose. They're going to throw out the absolute kitchen sink at Richmond.
They've got a game to lose. I hate that saying.
They've got.
I don't care where they sit on the ladder. They've got a game to lose.
And percentage.
I mean it in the sense that they don't have the same pressure that Richmond has on them. And often we see sides when they've got not that pressure not there, they start to lift their game.
And percentage could be a factor for the Tigers as well, with Essendon, around about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So this will be a very, very interesting game. I think Anthony Miles had another spectacular game on the weekend. 26 touches, later I think 6 tackles, a couple of score assists. He was really, really good for me, and he has been all year. He's just been spectacular.
Betting on to the Saints boys, they lost to Sydney by 71 points.
Didn't do a lot wrong, to be honest. They were just outclassed. And
true,
best team in the competition.
By the best team in the competition.
In Sydney as well. So
in Sydney.
It's tough.
I think they did pretty well to keep it under 100, to be honest.
I'd agree. I think they're playing a lot of their kids St Kilda. We've got to give them credit for that. They're being brave. I've got to give Alan Richardson a pat on the back. Instead of doing what Melbourne is doing, in the sense sticking with players that probably shouldn't be in the side, they're giving all their youngsters a go, going, just get out there. We don't care if you perform, have 20 touches or 10, just get out there. And, you see them play, and it's warming to say the least. They've still got guys like Eli Templeton and Luke Dunstan sitting in the sheds to come back from injury. But Sam Fisher is one that I've really liked coming back from injury. He's given them so much structure in that back half, and they'll just be looking to finish off the season good and strong and come back in 2015.
Nick Rewald is just a true champion, in my opinion. Just a true champion. He kicked 3, had 20 disposals on the weekend. He's just a phenomenal footballer.
There's nothing more we can say about him.
Jake Stephen also had his best game for the year as
30,
well.
32.
31, I think.
31,
31 and 1 goal. He's had an injury interrupted season as well. Jack Nunes I've been really impressed with
Yeah.
as well. He had 26 disposals against the Swans.
He's one of the youngsters that you really like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure he's played every game this season.
He has, yeah.
He's been fantastic. But one sour note was Jaron Geary re-injured on the weekend in the VFL, so unlikely. Unsure whether he'll come back this year.
Probably not.
Guys, who are we going to tip in this game?
Richmond by 10 goals.
Well, okay, I'll go Richmond by about 40 points.
I'm going to say Richmond by 34 points. Which brings us to the end of the round 22 edition of Beyond the Boundary.
Now, one quick thing. Instead of going game by game, I'm just going to go through the milestones here because I missed most of them. Matthew Broadbent
No, you got that one.
I did get that one, but I'm going through them again.
Okay.
Matthew Broadbent plays game 100. Ryan Basnake plays game 100. Lindsay Thomas game 150.
If he plays.
Charlie Dixon plays game 50. Getting through. Chris Dawes plays game 100. Bernie Vince 150. Daniel Pearce game 200. He played most of them with Port Adelaide.
Correct.
But now a couple with Fremantle. And for Richmond, Shane Edwards plays game 150. He's had a terrific year.
And Jake Batchelor.
Jack Batchelor plays game 50.
There we go.
Done.
Comprehensive wrap.
Boys,
of
one
the
quick
milestones
question that I was
of
going to ask you. Josh Bootsman is willing to, he's coming back into the AFL. No?
No.
All right.
Don't want him. No thanks.
Sorry, Josh.
Follow us on Twitter at GuysandN, at BTBAFL, at GuysandN, at JRoco91, and at VKLax. You can subscribe to us. There's a link in the top right hand corner, which will open in a new tab.
btbaflive.com.au.
Send us an email. Thanks to Justin Westhoff, our producer. He does a great job every week.
And he played well on the weekend.
Vinay would like to thank someone.
Valium, great partners, great YouTube partners, giving us a lot of resources and all that kind of jazz.
Yep.
So it's good to be associated. It's good to be associated with them, Josh. I'm not sure why you're smiling and laughing, but
just before we go, you might be wondering, are we going to be covering the finals? The answer, of course, is yes. Why wouldn't we be?
Definitely.
But you're going to have to wait and see until next week. We've got a big announcement regarding our coverage of the finals there. And don't forget to check out News and Views. There's a link to that at the end of the video.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us, boys. We'll see you next week.